the 5 biggest financial mistakes people make between 40 and 65 and how to fix them before it's too late.
Welcome to Market Boys with Edmundo, Sapco, and Andres.
Hello.
Good morning, boys.
Hey,
Morning.
we're here.
And we have a quite interesting topic going on today, right?
Always
Which
interesting
is?
Well, let's see. If you are between 45 and 65, this episode might be one of the most important financial conversations you had the whole year. Because at this stage, you're not building just anymore, right?
That's
You're
right.
kind of like positioning yourself, especially in that age. You are deciding whether the next 20 to 30 years of your life are going to feel secure or uncertain. And here's the reality, right, guys?
Absolutely.
We see a lot of people doing the right things.
Well, this is what they call the accumulation period and the distribution period. This is like a period of what?
Big transition.
Big transition.
Correct.
Always.
Now, a lot of people, we see that they're working hard, they're saving, they contribute to the 401ks, correct?
That's right.
But still, they make a few mistakes that can cost them big time.
That is true. And right now, the environment doesn't make it easier. You got interest rates, moving, inflation, still part of the conversation. Markets going up and down, and a lot of noise.
That's right, Ed. It's a lot of noise going on in the market.
And that's a big problem. Most people, of course not you, most people are worried about the news and acting on impulse.
A lot of emotions flying.
Yeah?
Correct.
And that could be very detrimental for your savings, if it's in a portfolio, house, whatever your savings you have.
Because people can plan when they want to retire, right? What they cannot predict or plan is at the moment they're going to retire, if the market is going to be up or down. And that can cost big time.
Huge.
That's
Huge
why
changes.
you told once, we're talking about the multi-legged approach, in which you have several legs, in which you can take money from one and leave money in another. Depends on the situation in the market. If you play smart, it will be much better, let's say.
Right.
So, it's not the market. The conclusion is your interpretation is the market, is what you feel. And if you,
Right, how people react to it.
exactly. Basically.
And on top of that, most people are completely exposed in areas they don't even think about. One being healthcare,
That's right.
right? And unexpected situations. And suddenly,
Like what?
unexpected situations. Well, we want to make sure that
My kid never left home. Still, I'm 60 and my kid's still at
I
home.
have to bail out of jail my kids.
Right?
well, all the ups and downs of Medicare, right? Finding a provider, right?
Yeah, they're out of the pocket, in network, out of network.
Right.
But unexpected
developing.
expenses,
Right. I start developing like health conditions and things like that usually start to come to
Unexpected.
raise.
accidents, new car, old car. There are
Oh.
many variations that few people consider.
Right.
Absolutely. And suddenly everything they built is under pressure. So today we're going to break down the 5 biggest mistakes we see people make between 45 and 65, and more importantly, what you can do about it.
Well,
topic.
let's start with the environment, because people are trying to make decisions based on headlines. Here's the truth. Markets go up and down, and there's nothing we can do about it.
That's right. Now,
That's not new. What is different is how fast information is coming at people now, and how emotional decisions became a big part. So, what does it take, guys over here? This is what we talked just a minute ago.
Yeah.
Emotions can play against you.
correct. Especially
Big
like
time.
right now with volatility comes like up and down, up and down, up and down. It can get crazy.
I remember the market being my whole life like this. War here, war there, crisis, oil, embargo, non-embargo. And the emotions are going to detect our actions or logic.
Right.
That's a big question here.
Right, right. I read a study on that. When you are flustered and you are in a panic state, you end up making irrational decisions, unfortunately.
That is true. That is
Yeah.
true. Irrational decisions are the less one, the ones that you don't want to take. And remember this, folks. Common sense is the less common of the senses. So just
Right.
apply logic over there.
Indeed.
Correct. Now, we know that interest rates also affects borrowing, right? Housing and portfolios, correct? And volatility is always going to live with us. It's always staying.
It's always. There is nothing new. But again, how we react to the facts makes the whole difference. So at the end, the market is not the biggest risk. Your behavior in the market is.
Yeah, very profound, Ed.
Yeah.
And this is where most people in their 40s and 50s and early 60s need to shift their thinking, because early on it's all about growth, correct? But
100%.
now it is about balance and control, especially on your portfolios.
Exactly. Yeah.
Remember, you also transition from, like something that Ed mentioned before, is you transition from accumulation, right, to preservation.
Preservation. Yeah.
Love
And
that.
then-
Right? And if you're in your 60s, the $1 million question is, how much of your lifetime savings are you willing to lose?
Not much.
You were quick to respond. That's the $1 million
Not
question.
much.
How much of your lifetime savings are you willing to lose?
Very low. Very low.
Well, most people would say zero. Nothing.
Indeed.
Zero. Nada.
Correct. So because of that, understanding that preservation, right? Sequence of returns starts to matter. Not when you're in your 20s, but when you're in your 60s, that's important. Correct? Now, you cannot afford to make mistakes late in the game.
True. Nonetheless, there are several different systems to do that, and rooted in logic is what works better here. Because if the market is going to fluctuate, what matters? Your principal or the income you can get from the market?
We want to protect the principal first and
Correct.
foremost.
Well, that's the whole point. So I have
The
friends in
principal
all
can
kind of
generate you the
businesses.
income, correct?
What,
The
sorry?
principal can generate you the income.
Exactly.
When that principal goes down, like I remember I remember very clear, not 2008, 2007, okay, because that's when the crash starts. And in the summer, I remember one client, blue collar worker, worked with the same company for like 40 years. He's about to retire. His 401k was around, that time was like 700,000. And we shifted quickly to like a safe portfolio. And I mean, he had this conversation with his peers at work that were also looking to retire. Most of them had like a 7-figure 401ks. So if you remember, around September was that the market started correcting 500 points like crazy.
I was there.
So-
I remember.
Out of his department, he was the only one who was able to retire.
Wow.
Because those 401ks that those people have, they were reduced like 40% in a matter of like 6 months. They could not retire. You have $1 million now, was worth like, I don't know, 600? But he was able to retire. And he was so grateful for that, right? Because it was that timing part. We can control how much we contribute, right? We can plan to retire at a certain point. What we cannot control is what the market is going to be doing at that time when we are retiring. And that has a
Exactly.
big impact.
So that's a big question. Is the income, is the principal, a mix of both? What it is? And that is what we have to really plant with our head, friends.
That's right. Let's start with the biggest one. Most people don't actually have a retirement plan. They have accounts. You see, a 401k is not a whole plan. It's part of the plan.
Good.
Right? Now,
Good.
an IRA is not a strategy. It should be part of your strategy.
Exactly.
Right? And having
Definitely.
money saved doesn't mean you know how it works for you. If I ask you how much income your money will generate in retirement, most people don't know. They don't have a clue.
Well, because of the part of that is the taxation. They don't know, most people, that when they retire, they will have to pay taxes. Believe it or not, they don't understand that. You accumulate taxes, you accumulate without paying taxes for 20, 30, 40 years.
Right.
But when you take the money, you have to pay taxes.
That's right.
That's right.
That's why it's so important to have a plan in place. When the 401k, the IRA, simple, Roth, whatever the case, plus an annuity or a life insurance, can be all little components like in a clock, like in all those clocks, old clocks.
Correct.
They are just little parts of a big thing. And that's what most people are missing.
Right.
Exactly.
Right.
And you mentioned something big, Edmundo, is ignoring taxes.
Oh, yeah.
And that's one thing we can't avoid. Right. Unfortunately.
Taxes and death, according to Benjamin Franklin.
I was thinking that.
Yeah.
This one surprises people. They have been deferring taxes for 20 or 30 years, but never planned for when taxes show up. Maybe taxes are an uninvited guest, or how you can call it, somebody that crossed your door without being invited.
Right.
But they will come. Tax deferred
Nonetheless.
doesn't mean tax free.
Correct.
Never.
Okay?
That's the biggest
Future-
confusion, right?
Oh,
People
right.
think, it's tax free, it's tax free. No, it's two different things different. Your taxes that being tax free.
That's right.
Exactly.
And they get the surprise. How come I cannot take all my money? It's my money. Well, you didn't pay taxes for all 20, 30 years or 40 years of your work.
Yeah. So
Right.
it's time.
So what is the strategy, right? Is
Well,
the
I know
strategy.
a couple of cases they were working 30-something years in a very famous hotel in the Strip, and they cashed their 401k. And at the end of the year, they got a bitter surprise. All the taxes they had to pay for the accumulation.
Correct.
So as Andres says, deferred taxes are taxes.
Were they 59 and a half?
No, yeah, of
No,
course.
okay.
They're
I was gonna
60-something
say.
years old.
But it's
And
still-
they-
And add that penalty on there,
I
the
will-
10%
I
penalty.
will catch the 401k, and then boom.
Yeah.
The bill was
Wow.
brutal. So future tax rates are unknown. Just imagine, folks, the tax rate today with the federal government as it is, and the expectation of that federal government debt, or also called national debt, going up. Do you think the taxes are going to be the same, lower, or higher? And that is a risk.
It's unknown.
Is a no. So withdrawals can create unexpected tax pressure.
Right.
And then what would you do? It's not what you make, it's what you can keep.
That's the name of the game.
That's the
How
name
much you can keep in your pocket, right? Now, also taking too much risk is too late, right? When you get into a certain point in your life, when you're still taking too much risk.
Let me interrupt you there. FOMO, fear of missing out. Yeah?
Yeah.
How'd you learn that? Where'd you learn that at?
So we see this
FOMO.
all the time, guys. People are still investing like they are 30 years old when they are actually 55. Too much exposure to market swings. No downside strategy. Trying to catch up instead of protecting. At this stage, one big loss can do more damage than years of gains can fix.
That is true.
And this is profound, right?
Oh, that is true. How many years to recover accounts that went down in 2008-9, went down in 2018, or when the natural resources collapsed in 2015-16?
Yeah.
It took a couple of years to recover.
Especially when you like,
Just to go to the level they were.
especially like after, I believe, around 65, when you're in like full retirement, not losing money is actually making money.
That was the question I did before. What is more important? The value of your portfolio, the income that generates, have additional resources to counterbalance the losses in your portfolio, if there are. What approach? Those are all the things we have to check and analyze logically.
Right.
This one hits hard. People wait until they can't qualify or becomes too expensive. Health changes affects options.
Yeah.
That's just the name of
People
it.
when it's too late. It's like when it comes to insurance, right? Insurance is to protect what you're not willing to lose.
Exactly.
So people on their health, they bet until the end. It's like you're trying to purchase fire insurance on your home when the house is on fire. Who's
Right.
going to insure it?
It's way too late.
Nobody, right?
It's too late.
Correct.
So timing is
Some
the
people
key.
take very inexpensive insurances, and they complain when they don't cover. Right?
What you were going to say, Sapko?
Well, I was going to say timing is the key. We want to get ahead of it, essentially, right? So plan ahead and plan for the unexpected. What was that saying? Be ready before. What was that saying? Oh,
Prepare for the worst, pray for the best.
that's another one. Yes, but that
Plan
was
for the worst and hope for the best.
and hope for the best.
Yes.
Right. Be ready. There was another saying. I just can't remember it. Anyway, so the costs increase with age as well. Some protections may not be available later.
That is true.
Correct. Yeah.
That is true.
It's true.
So you don't wait for the storm to buy insurance. You make sure you get ahead of it once again, right? So, get there before you have to be there.
You cannot buy insurance after the fact. I had in my career more than cases I can count with my hand.
Correct. I'm a firm believer that protection, in this case insurance, is the foundation of any portfolio.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
Because that's what allows you to take risk. That's what allows you to outperform, right? Without it, it's just reckless.
We'll have a plan, but if the plan gets in troubles, that's why insurance is so important.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And he comes with the fifth biggest mistake is no income strategy. This is the biggest gap. People focus on savings, but not on turning savings into income. Where will you come from, right? How long it will last? How does inflation impact that?
Yeah. Do you have your money in the bank producing nothing? And of course, nothing for you, a lot for the bank. Or you having the money below the mattress?
Really eroding at
So
that
if the money doesn't produce, then it's what you call income strategy. What is
Correct.
the income strategy?
So retirement is not about how much you actually have. It's about how long it can last while you're in retirement.
Exactly.
It's very profound.
Let's talk about what can go wrong and how people protect against it.
Okay?
Life insurance equals income protection plus legacy. Now, legacy, everyone is definitely want to protect their children. They want to protect their family. Want to protect their home and assets.
Well, I would love to agree with you, but I have to contest that. I have clients that they told me explicitly, by the time I die, I don't want to leave a penny to anyone. But if legacy is a concern, of course, enters the equation. Some people want just to leave some, everything, more than everything, nothing. But all they have in common is a plan, a logical plan.
Correct. And they want to make sure that, again, their income satisfactions or their income needs are satisfied. That's the better word to put it. And yeah, some of people might be interested in leaving a legacy, correct? That's based on how were they raised or what is in their heart at the end of the day.
Or if they really worked hard and they don't want the future, their children to work as hard as they did before.
Yeah, basically how they feel they should live, and do they have the means? Do they have a plan?
Indeed.
So at the end, it's everything about planning.
Another point is the long-term care, protecting your assets from being drained. So at the age where you are unable to take care of yourself anymore, you don't want to burden your family.
That's the
friends.
first cause of bankruptcy among seniors.
Indeed.
Correct.
70%.
Long-term care, 70%.
70%.
That's a big number.
That is high. That is high.
Unexpected events create financial pressure fast. And so we want to get ahead of it, right?
Correct.
There are
People
a
plan
lot
for
of
retire,
plans.
for vacations. Nobody wakes up in the morning and says, I'm going to plan to get sick this year, right?
No one.
Nobody
No
plans
one
for that.
says
So that's for sure.
They are penny pinching with the insurances. They are penny pinching with the long-term care, short-term care, health care, etc. And when something happens,
And we're talking about a fraction of the cost, too, when you have insurance in place, right?
oh yeah,
So, paying a premium versus the vast expense of healthcare,
Correct.
oh yeah,
it's a no-brainer when you sit down and you look at the numbers.
absolutely.
So you don't insure because you expect something to happen. You insure because you can afford it to happen.
Wow.
You
See,
just-
I
That's
found
right.
very funny when when the classical definition of insurance, which is the transference of risk. You are transferring to somebody else the risk, the insurance company. Many people tell me, that's very expensive. Well, imagine if you have to pay yourself out of pocket.
Oh,
Can hurt.
that'd be the end.
No?
Yeah. So when protection is done right, it works with your plan, not against it. That's a big thought to process.
Planning.
Coordination between investments and protection. Okay, guys? Avoid overpaying and duplicating. Everything should serve a purpose in your plan.
Exactly. Last week, I asked a member of my family, I told, okay, you have these wonderful plans for your next 40 years. She's young. What happened if in the middle you get incapacitated, you get sick, etc., etc.? You need an insurance to keep you going on, to avoid deviation of your original plan. That will never happen to me. And I finish my conversation. I have a lot of confidence, member of the family. I say, that's your opinion until the car in front of you blow up to the sky in a ball of flames.
That's right.
And that's what, or somebody close to you suffers something of those things.
Right.
So Ed, if markets drop and you don't have protection,
You are forced to make bad decisions at the worst time.
yeah, that's very painful.
That word force. Ouch.
I know.
And life will do that to you. Life will force you to make a move with things you should have done, you should have planned for. Now it catches up to you.
Correct. So, big part is what to do now, correct? Well, comes down to this. Let's simplify this into steps you can actually take. Right,
Correct.
Ed? So get a full review of your financial situation, understand income versus assets,
Correct.
align your strategy with your timeline.
Those are very basic and very well thought points. From the market side, discipline matters more than predictions. This is very important. Why? Rebalance if needed, avoid emotional decisions, and stick to a process.
True.
From protection standpoints, don't wait.
Review current coverage, identify the gaps, make adjustments early. Don't wait until it's too late.
That is true.
Now, most people don't fail because they didn't try.
They fail because they didn't coordinate everything.
And they waited too long to act.
Yeah. So, if you are between 45 and 65, now is the time to get clarity.
Don't wait for the market to tell you what to do.
And don't wait for life events to force a decision.
If you're not sure how your plan looks like, you have never had everything reviewed together, right, as a comprehensive plan, reach out. Have a conversation, understand your options. We're here to help. Do click before to follow us, and you have any questions, our information is below.
See you
Stay tuned.
soon.
See you.
See you later.